Hello, everyone. To be conscious of everybody's time, we will go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is Nate Holt, and I am the Graduate Enrollment Advisor for the GEM program at the University of Colorado, Denver. We're extremely excited to have you join us today for this webcast. The Global Energy Management Program is exclusively designed to develop future leaders in the energy industry. Currently, the GEM program has nearly 400 students and alumni around the world. The caliber, diversity, and reach of this network is one of the GEM program's greatest differentiators. Another strength of our program is the breadth and openness of our alumni and student network. As you'll see today, we regularly provide opportunities for anyone interested in the GEM program to speak directly with our students and alumni. For those of you who are newer to the GEM program, we start cohorts every January and July. The next cohort starts July 14th and applications are rolling in. For those of you who have not yet applied, I will follow up with all of you after today's webcast and send you detailed information on the application process, scholarship opportunities, and to answer any additional questions that you may have. Many of you guys sent your questions in ahead of time, so we'll go ahead and get started. Before answering the first question, we'll have each panelist introduce themselves and say a few words. So we'll go ahead and get started, and our first question will be for current student Kevin Mckenna. Kevin, earning my master's degree has always been a goal, but now I have a young family. Can you speak to how you fit in graduate school with work and family?
Yeah, sure. This is a question that I was considering myself a little bit over a year ago, because I also have 3 children at home, ages 8, 10, and 12 right now. And I always wanted a master's degree too. And that was one of many reasons I ended up doing the GEM program. What I found is that you become, even if you're not a very organized person, you become very organized. And that was the case for me. I'm not naturally a very organized person. And you also become very efficient with your time. You learn to not waste a whole lot of time. So, I travel a fair bit for work too, which is an additional complication to getting everything done. And you find out that you can download lectures and you can watch them while you're at the airport or on an airplane. You do a fair amount of work at night, and then you just have to carve out time on the weekends. I find myself working early in the morning sometimes and late at night sometimes. And the thing is, it's not unique. There are many people in the program who are in a similar situation, and everybody sort of figures out how to get it done. I'm really looking forward to graduating here in a few months and feeling like I have all this extra time. So it's been a challenge, but I've also learned from having to budget time like that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Our next question I'll ask to current student Claire Ashton. And Claire, if you could say a few words and introduce yourself before you answer this question. Do the projects you complete in class relate back to your current position? Have you applied what you are learning in class to your current positions?
Sure. Welcome everyone. My name's Claire Ashton, as Nate said. I currently am a mechanical engineer. I work for the Shell Oil Company. I'm originally from Ireland and moved over. I currently live in New Orleans, Louisiana. So travel to do the GEM program. In terms of the question that you asked, that's a good question, because obviously I've got a very technical background. I'm an engineer by background, and that's what my job is. And so one of the things I've really enjoyed about the GEM program is just the breadth of subjects that we cover. So I've taken classes on economics, finance, and also regulation and law, which to me was really interesting and very important. And those classes in particular are ones that I've been able to apply to my job. So although I do a technical role, it's very important for me to know, the financial reasons or the economic reasons behind our projects and be able to do some of that analysis. So yes, even though it's not a core part of my job, I definitely apply what I do on a day-to-day basis. And it also enables me to talk to people from many different disciplines and area of the company, which, intelligently, which I hope I did before, but now I have a lot more substance to back up what I spoke about.
That's great. Thank you, Claire. Just a reminder to everybody watching, there is a Q&A session, so many of you sent your questions in beforehand, but you can chat us your questions at the bottom as well, and we will try to get through all of the questions throughout the webinar. Another question that we just had come in, Garrett, I'll ask you, and again, introduce yourself before this question. Has your career advanced at all since you've been enrolled and now recently graduated? And if so, do you feel GEM program helped you with that promotion?
Yeah, my name is Garrett Peterson. I am the Director of Construction and Program Execution at Sunshare. Sunshare specializes in developing community solar gardens throughout the U.S. Our primary focus is Colorado and Minnesota, but I've been in the solar industry almost 10 years now. So when I joined the GEM program, I was in a project management role, and part of my motivation for joining the GEM program was actually to increase my career prospects and opportunities. And I would say it has. The biggest help for me, kind of like Claire touched on, is learning about all forms of the energy industry, not only the technical sides of it, but also the financial parts that encompass it, and being able to be conversant with so many different people, not only within your company, but throughout the industry. When you're sitting with them, it is a huge plus that the GEM program gives you. If I'm having a meeting with Excel Energy, I'm able to talk to their engineers about issues that they might be having with grid, things like that, it opens up so many more doors than just say like a master's of finance degree or an MBA.
That's great. Thank you, Garrett. Claire, we had another similar question come in, and so I'll ask you, how has the GEM program impacted your career? Has it helped you reach your goals?
So I'm still a current student. I hope to graduate in June. So I obviously haven't had as much time as, say, Garrett to enjoy the benefits of GEM. But as I mentioned earlier, I work for Shell. I work in our Deepwater Projects office, so I'm very oil and gas based. I think that probably has had an impact on many people's careers in the oil and gas industry. So I haven't seen benefits yet, apart from what I touched on earlier about being able to apply it in my current job. But what's been of the real benefit to me has been to open my mind to all the different areas of the business, and also all the different disciplines that are involved in helping a business in energy succeed. So it's really given me a direction in my career and made me more aware of what I wanted to achieve going forward. And in terms of that, I definitely think that GEM will be an advantage, and is currently an advantage. As I said, I feel much more confident being able to talk to many different people within our company, and also other, outside oil and gas now. And that is of great benefit to me.
That's great. Thank you, Claire. We do have a number of questions coming in, so please feel free to keep asking those questions, and we'll try to get to all of them as they do come in. One that I will ask Garrett, just knowing your background, my job is pretty demanding and consists of a lot of travel. I'm worried about how I can fit in school obligations with my job so I can still be successful at both.
So the one thing I'd say is it's entirely possible. You will find the free time because it's online for all portions outside of the 4 days in the classroom. You can do your work at 5 a.m. You can do your work at midnight. Like Kevin was talking about, you can download PowerPoint slides, download your lecture, watch it on an airplane. It's flexible. You can do it. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I had people in my cohort that were spread out across the U.S., and in some cases, depending on the semester, I even had people who were international. The one thing that it actually does help with in this sense is when working with a group that's spread out across either the U.S. or even the world, you learn how to coordinate schedules, and it's actually a major benefit for if you're working for an international company and have to start to figure out how to host a meeting at 8 o'clock at night with somebody who is waking up in Shanghai. It's doable, and I think all the GEM graduates would say the same thing, that you find a way to do it.
That's great. Thank you, Jason. Our next question is fairly specific. So Kevin, can you answer for us? I work in oil and gas here, based in Houston. Why should I enroll in the GEM program?
Sure. I also am based in Houston. I guess I didn't really introduce myself, but I currently am in charge of sales for a borehole geophysics company that monitors fracks as they happen. So a big reason that I enrolled in the GEM program is to increase the number of choices I would have going forward in my career, either in oil and gas or outside of oil and gas. So I've always been involved with upstream geoscience and engineering technology for my whole career, which is about 20 years now. And maybe I'll want to keep doing that forever, but I think there's a big part of me that would like to branch out and do something else. So certainly, my background is technical and geology, and anything I know about business, I've just learned by watching over the years, and I needed a booster shot in that regard to sort of expand my capabilities to really have a good business acumen, which we talk about a lot in this program as being a real key to success and getting higher and higher into organizations going forward. And then, there's also the whole, what if I want to get into renewables at some point, or what if I want to get into utilities or something like that? Something I really know very little about, or knew very little about, until I got into the program. And so I've enjoyed that exposure as well. Traveling to Denver is fun, first of all. So we have to go to Denver once a quarter during this program. And we also bond very tightly because it is cohort based. So my fellow students, so Claire is in my cohort. I feel like I know Claire very well now. We've been, I think, on 3 teams together or something. It seems like that. And, you really kind of go to war with each other, and the bonds you create with your cohort are very strong, and I am sure will last beyond graduation. So to me, diversifying what you know, who you know, and what you're able to do are really good things for your career. And taking a program outside of Houston made a lot of sense to me for that reason.
That's great. Thanks, Kevin. To go off of that question, we have a similar one. And Claire, I'll ask you. I don't live in Denver. How hard is it to attend the cohort weekends? And can you talk a little bit about those cohort weekends?
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned earlier, I currently live in New Orleans in Louisiana. And so one of the good things for me is that there's many direct flights from New Orleans straight to Denver, which is a great benefit because it means that I can fly straight after work on a Thursday and then come back to New Orleans straight after the cohort weekend on a Monday. And although that works for me, I know in our cohort there is somebody who lives in Pennsylvania. He needs to take 2 flights. So it does, a lot of people from all over the country make it work. I was originally worried that it would take, it would be take quite a toll, but actually I really enjoy it. I love being in Denver. I really love Colorado. Maybe shouldn't mention this, but I've been able to take a few days to go skiing before the cohort weekend. So I love the opportunity to go and do that. And then during the cohort weekends, they are long. Classes start early and finish late, with a lunch break in between. But you do get to meet a lot of people, and you do form strong bonds, like Kevin was saying, with your cohort. And part of that, especially from people who are living outside of Denver, you do tend to go out and eat together or socialize together afterwards. And that, I think, has been one of the most valuable experiences for me from GEM, is that I've gotten to meet people who work, all over the country in utilities, in oil and gas, in solar, in wind, in energy efficiency, some that maybe are trying to get into the energy industry, and just meeting people from all over. It's been a really great experience, and we learn from each other. We do a lot of group work in GEM, so I probably learn just as much from my fellow teammates as I do from everything else that GEM provides.
That's great. Thank you, Claire. have more questions coming in, and feel free to keep asking your questions, and we'll try to get to all of them. Garrett, I'm going to come to you for this next one. Besides energy-focused courses, what sets this program apart from other graduate business programs?
There were a couple things that set this program apart for me. The 4 days in the classroom truly makes it feel more like a traditional, I guess, graduate program. You get to know your professors, like Kevin and Claire. They work together. You get to know your cohort. You get to know people outside the cohort because everybody is there at the same time. So the cohort ahead of you and the cohort behind you, you meet more industry people that way as well. I think the way GEM is structured towards professionals, any more classroom time would be hard to do. So fitting that in the quarter and getting that feeling is great. The other thing that was different for me than a typical graduate program is the professors are not just run-of-the-mill college professors who are teaching you a subject. They are industry professionals with 20 years, 30 years, 40 years experience in the energy industry and in the class that they're teaching. So my accounting professor is in charge of accounting at Excel. So when the accounting class, which is not exciting to me, but when we talk about rate structures and how changes happen within the utility industry based on fossil fuel generation and renewable generation and what that does to their books and everything like that, it ties it in much more than a standard accounting class where you're just learning, assets plus liabilities equal equity, things like that. It's different in that sense that the professors and the faculty really have real world energy experience.
That's great. Thank you, Garrett. For this next question, I'll come to you, Kevin. A big question here. What has been the biggest benefit of being a part of this program for you?
Well, to pick one is kind of hard, so I'll probably cheat a little bit and mention a few. But as I think the biggest benefit when I'm finished with the program is what I alluded to earlier, which is going to be increasing the choices I have in my career going forward. I will say that I've already found a lot of benefits to date, and maybe that was the question itself of taking what I'm learning. The program's very practical. When we're studying finance, for example, or accounting, we're looking at cash flows. We're looking at real financials that currently I'm running sales, so it's important for me to understand where the revenue fits into the overall picture of my company's finances. And right away, I was able to take what I was learning and apply that. And, just expanding my overall knowledge of the energy industry, learning the big picture of what we are doing today, where that fits into the overall energy picture. And that makes it a lot easier for me to connect to what my customers are wanting from me. And so I found that to be very important as well. I could also pick the bonds I have with the students in my cohort and other cohorts. I'm pretty sure that's going to be very important going forward. So I guess I hedged my bets a little and picked 3 there, but there are many.
That's great. Thank you, Kevin. Jason, can you hear me, Jason?
Yes, my apologies. We're suffering some serious technology deficits over here right now.
That's all right. We're cranking through some questions, and I'm glad you could join us. We got a number of questions still coming in. Jason, if I'm going to ask you a couple questions here that have come in. If you wouldn't mind doing a quick introduction of yourself, when you graduated, what you're currently doing, and then if you could answer this question for you or for us. Do you feel like you've been able to apply what you've learned in the GEM program in your positions while in the program and after graduation?
Sure thing. Jason Miller. I'm a senior power plant engineer for a publicly owned utility out in California, Roseville Electric. I graduated in June of 2013, part of Cohort 7. And to answer the question, yes, as far as being able to use what I've learned, not only while I was in the program, but shortly thereafter is when I got this job. And I was definitely able to leverage what I've learned in order to become more conversant with other sides of the house, of the utility. So not only am I able to function and perform in my own silo, I'm able to talk to folks who are involved in more of the strategic planning, the financial management aspect. I can understand how their decisions impact my work and how my work and my planning will impact their decisions respectively. So yeah, there's been an immediate application, especially right after graduation.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jason. And since you just joined us, I'm going to put you on the spot again, if you don't mind, and ask you, what is it like being a part of the cohort? I know Claire and Kevin and Garrett have all touched on this, but can you give us your insight of what it's been or what it's like being a part of a cohort? How well do you get to know your classmates? And do you find it valuable that they're all in the energy industry?
Yes, I think the majority, it's a toss-up, but the value of this program, aside from the academic foundation that gets laid and everything you learn from it, is the cohort system. And the people that I've met, what they do in the energy industry and what I've been able to learn from them, the support that we provided each other while in school was priceless. And I think it is a critical piece of the program. Getting through a very intense curriculum in a very short period of time, I don't think could be done without that sort of without that level of cooperation and support. It was fantastic.
That's great. Thank you, Jason. We've got a few more questions coming in, and I'm going to ask these for the good of the group. So anybody feel free to answer these, and feel free to chime in if you want to feed off of anybody else's responses. The GEM program is unique that it encompasses all sectors of the energy industry. Can you speak to how that's benefited you in your current role and in your career, learning about different energy sectors?
I mean, I guess I'll take a crack at that. If you like. So I have found that, we haven't really touched on that too much because I think we're all in oil and gas utilities. But we do learn a lot about renewables. We spend a lot of time on wind, solar, a fair amount of time on nuclear, although not everybody calls that renewable. We cover geothermal, hydro, so we really do cover quite a bit of everything. Strangely enough, what that has helped me with, I've found, is when I'm hearing somebody tell me a story in my own industry, when it doesn't make sense, I have a better sense for picking that up. And I think it's because I now have a better overall understanding of what makes an energy project work fundamentally at a fundamental level. And so when I'm hearing some story come from somebody that is like, you have not connected all the dots on this, and you're missing a few things that are going to be important. It's not necessarily because we've gone into depth on that in oil and gas. It's just because we've spent so much time covering so many different aspects, including regulatory aspects of what makes an energy project go in general, that it's really given me a horse sense about that. And it's sort of hard to quantify, but I feel that way.
That's great. Thank you, Kevin.
And Nathan, I could add on to that a little bit, in the sense that Kevin's in more or less oil and gas. I'm in renewable. So when we talk about the energy industry as a whole, the renewable side is taking up a very small portion of that. You know, you have fossil fuel generation, and with natural gas and coal, looking at 60-70% of our production. The GEM program makes you realize how, for lack of a better term, how energy works in total. When oil was dropping down to $32 a barrel, some people viewed that as a great thing. Other people, if you understand the energy industry, you know that half of America's 401ks are in oil companies, and an oil company is not doing well. Even if you're for cheap gas, all of a sudden your 401k is not performing as well as it did. Like it just shows you how connected all forms of energy are, and that there's no one solution, and that you need to have an idea of how everything functions and how it's all tied together. So the GEM program does help with that.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Garrett. Kevin and Claire, for this next question, as current students, I'm going to ask you guys this one. While looking at the program and looking at other programs, I've noticed that the Executive in Residence program is a unique aspect. Can you please touch into a little bit about that experience that you've gotten out of that and the benefits of the EIR program?
I mean, I can talk about that a little bit. Yeah, so the Executive in Residence program, how it generally functions at a cohort weekend is we have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with the executives in residence. There's usually 2 at any given time. And we also have the opportunity to go for lunch as a group with one of the executives. I've met with a number of them since I started, and I've always found it really interesting just to hear people's perspectives and their perspectives about how they see the industries going. And I think one of the other really great things about the program is we've had people from Excel Energy, we've had executives from engineering organizations, we've had executives from an oil and gas company. So there really has been a spread of experience. And for me, there's been a benefit of meeting with executives from different organizations outside my industry, just to understand their perspectives, to hear how they got where they are, and to see what's important to them. So I found it very interesting. The other thing is they also tend to come into one of our lectures and give a lecture on whatever topic we're talking about. We were in a accounting or finance class, I believe, and Theresa Madden, who was at Excel, came in and gave a talk about her experience there. So it gives a real practical slant to what we're learning.
That's great. Thank you, Claire. We got time for one more question, and I'll ask this for the good of the group. Garrett, I know you touched on this a little bit previously. Can you speak to the quality of the faculty and speak to what you're learning from them and the benefit from them being energy professionals themselves?
Yeah, so the faculty across the board is, I mean, as qualified or if not more qualified than any other graduate program. My professor for technical aspects of energy industry, where you learn the science behind how almost every form of energy works, from solar to nuclear to natural gas. I believe he had two PhDs and his JD as well. Like these are people that have devoted their life to some form or another of the energy industry, whether even in accounting, or the finance professors are heavily involved with modeling and consulting for oil and gas, renewable utilities. The quality there is something that I haven't seen in other programs, and have heard that students who took, say, some intro grad level classes were far more impressed with the GEM program faculty than other programs they were involved in.
That's great. Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah, and if I may, I'd also like to add on top of that I'm a very practical or applied learner. So learning concepts in the abstract has never worked well for me. And so the faculty's depth and breadth to where I could ask, all right, that's all well and good, but how does this actually work? I mean, I was oftentimes the contrarian, always asking, okay, I accept, I hit the I believe button, as often as I need to, but how does this actually work in practice? And without fail, I was always given some kind of context or example that really solidified the concepts we were learning. So that was another aspect of the value.
That's great. Thank you. So I will ask one last question to close it out for the good of the group. I'm looking at beginning in the July cohort. Why should I enroll in the GEM program?
I can answer. I'm sure we all have our own different reasons, and I think a lot of us spoke about them earlier. But to me, the reason I ended up enrolling, and I had looked at the GEM program and also a lot of other programs, both back in Europe and in the US. before I enrolled. I love the breadth of the topics that we discuss, and I also love the fact that it's specific to energy. I had considered doing an MBA, but what I really enjoy about this program is what the others have described. It's energy specific, so if you've got a real passion for that, be it oil and gas or renewables, just knowing about how the industry works, I think this course is invaluable. The practical experience of the cohort as well as of the professors really has been of benefit to me. Like has been said previously, I also would like to know how it works in the real world, and having professors that are able to answer that question in a very specific, energy industry, that was great. And I guess the last thing is going up to Denver is a lot of fun. It really is. It's hard work. The program is a lot of hard work, and you're going to have to dedicate a lot of time to it, but it's fun being in Denver. Although it's a lot of work with your groups, it's fun being in groups, and I've definitely felt like I've learned a lot from it.
That's great. Thank you, Claire. Well, thanks, everybody. We want to be considerate of everybody's time. I will follow up with everyone that has viewed this webcast, and I'll follow up to answer any additional questions that you may have. And we look forward to talking to everybody soon. And thank you for your interest in the GEM program. Have a great day, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.